we start, is there anybody, today is obviously going to be a very busy day for you with players playing, etc. Is there any news in terms of in or out or anything like that?
No, we're just waiting on Enda Stevens. Picked up just a knock on the knee last night in the game for Sheffield United. And he seems very sore. He's just arriving here as we speak, so at the hotel, so he seems quite sore. So we'll have to see how Enda is. We'll have to see how Enda gets on. Apart from that, everyone else is okay.
I wonder, did you get a chance to see West Brom and Tottenham? Had a particularly good game, I thought. He was up against Harry Kane, who we may face at Wembley. He was also up against Gareth Bale, who we might face in Cardiff.
Yeah.
But he did particularly well.
Yeah, no, it's a great experience for Dara. Like Dara, showing his versatility. He played right back for a lot of the campaign for West Brom last year. Obviously, he played left side of a back three today, and this season's been playing in that position. Obviously, a very good game against Finland. I think he did a different route. I seen Dara play the previous season for Exeter, 30 games in League Two for Exeter. Before that, he'd played in the conference for Aldershot, so on loan. So he's taken a different route, Dara. He's gone on loan to the conference and to League Two for a season each, and then grabbed his chance in the championship, and now he's playing in the Premier League, and he's earned it. He's still only 20 years of age, and so he's played a lot of games for one so young.
It's still, the name itself is even magical. Everyone's going to want to play in that game, but are you prioritising the Nation League games over the friendly against England?
It's an interesting question. I think we want to do well in all the games, and we want to do well in all of the games. Obviously, Nations League points are very important. Coefficient points count in the 3 games. Coefficient points count in the 3 games. I think so. We'll treat all 3 games as important games. I think, but you're right. We have to consider selection in relation to the 3 games and see what we feel is right. I think there is competition for places, and that's a good thing.
Would you agree though that at Wembley the name even still holds a certain sort of special magic in people's imagination regarding football?
Yeah, absolutely. I think what we'd love to see a packed Wembley, a massive Irish contingent that would travel well, and Wembley, that would be really special. That's what we would have wanted. Ideally, as a manager, you want your own. You dream of having your own family there. You have your own children, your family, everyone. All the players dream about their families going to those games. There's great international games, and I think, but it's empty. It's an empty stadium, but it's still historical stadium, and we're cognizant of that. It's great game. I think the games are all good games. England and Wembley, Wales and Cardiff, and then Bulgaria in the Aviva Stadium. So it's 3 games in 6 days, and they're great games really to be involved in, and we're really looking forward to them.
Okay, Guy Havard from Sky Sports, please.
Hi Stephen. Matt Doherty also had a good game today with the assist for the winning goal. Is it still for you either or with Seamus and Matt, or could you see a possibility where both could be in the same starting lineup?
Yeah, no, I definitely could. I think I think that it's a position that we're very well served in, and we're very grateful to have that competition, because you need it with injuries and so forth. And I think we've seen in the last window, unfortunately, we lost Seamus to a hamstring injury, but he's such a brilliant professional that when he played against Manchester United yesterday, like, you wouldn't have thought he'd been out for 3 weeks or longer really. He just seamlessly fit back in, comes back in impeccable condition. and that shows you how hard he works every single day, whether he's injured or not. Matt Doherty really found his feet at Tottenham. Played on tour, played again today, made the goal. He makes things happen, Matt. You know, even in our previous game against Finland, when he was tired, and it was his third game in 6 days for us, and that included 120 minutes in Slovakia and 2 flights between Slovakia, back to Dublin, back to Finland. And yet, in the last 10 minutes, he still was involved in chances being created. A header touched over the bar, he flicked one on for Ronan Curtis, the head that was saved. And he had a great pass through to Aaron Connolly in that period for a one-on-one. And, you know, so it's a position that we're well served in. They can both play together for sure. And we just have to see how that one goes.
How would they play together? Would you have to change from a back four, do you feel? Can they both play in a back four? Do you have to go to 3 centre halves?
No, it is one way of doing it for sure. Because as you see, Matt Doherty played left-sided centre-back in this for a lot of the game against Wales in recently. Now, that was obviously due to injuries. Seamus has played right side of a back three for Everton. But they could both play along the right side. Maybe not in a 4-3-3 where when we played 4-2-3 earlier, your wide players are, you know, supporting the striker and making runs across the line and being dynamic, playing very narrow and so forth. But in an orthodox sort of 4-2-3-1, certainly they could both play on the right for sure.
Stephen, quickly, just one other one. We seem to have stumbled across this 3 friendlies in a window. Is it here to stay? Is it something that you want?
I think our last window wasn't a friendly. It was obviously, we had the playoff against Slovakia, and that was a tough one mentally because we were excellent in the game. Felt we played really, really well, and unfortunately lost on penalty kicks, and that's the harshest reality. It's a game that we should have won, but we have to live with that. And I think, you know, then we had the games against Wales and Finland, but this is a different window for us because we haven't had this before, where we've a friendly and then the 2 games. So obviously March is World Cup qualifiers. You know, in March the talk and speculation is that there will be 3 World Cup qualifiers in March. You know, in the window, I'm not sure whether that's true or not. But certainly, so from my point of view, whether it's 2 or 3, you just have to adapt and prepare. It means much less time preparing. For example, there are a lot more matches on Sunday now. We used to lose 1 or 2 players. Now you lose quite a lot. So Monday and Tuesday's training are Mondays, those players can't train. Tuesday they can do very little. So it's your preparation time is limited. You maybe to 1 day, 1.5 days with the players who've played on the Sunday. So it is, but that's you'd have to adapt. I wouldn't complain about that. That's just something that we have to adapt to, and you know, we have to just get our work done in the, you know, in analysis room and through walkthroughs in the training ground and through you know, through trusting the players, because we've got a lot of good players and who take information on board quite easily.
Will Dalton from Virgin Media.
Thank you.
Hi Stephen, how are you?
How you doing?
Stephen, just obviously you're talking about prioritising games, trying to get the balance right. Obviously this is a friendly, which we don't have too many friendlies anymore. Is this a chance then maybe to experiment on what you were talking about with Matt and Seamus? And is there maybe something in the back of your mind about playing 3 at the back just to see what these players are like, because so many of them do play at their clubs in this system?
I think we've been excellent defensively. Like when we done a sort of collage of chances conceded and chances created, you know, in the last window, and we've only conceded 4 chances in the 3 games against Slovakia, Finland and Wales, and we've probably created nearly 15. And I think between the 3 games, and I think defensively in those games, we had 120 minutes clean sheet against Slovakia, didn't concede any chance against Wales in the game, and just obviously we gave a late goal away against Finland. I think so. Defensively, we've been very, very good overall in that last window. I think, in answer to your question, in experimenting, we have been experimenting. We've used, a lot of young players in those early games that will stand us in good stead in the World Cup qualifiers in March. Jason Malumbi's come in and played, made his debut. Jason Knight, Darragh O'Shea, obviously Aaron Connolly, Adam Ida has come in and made his debut. And, so there's been a lot of players that have come in and got experience that will stand them. We'll reap the benefits of that in March and in the World Cup qualifying campaign ahead. There's no point in blooding them then in the campaign. So I think, certainly, they're getting an opportunity now. And some of them have shown that they're very capable, and they're going to be part of the future of Ireland for sure.
And as David McGoldrick is obviously a big loss to the side, and we do have some promising forwards coming through the ranks. We've seen Adam make his debut recently, and Aaron Connolly obviously. With Shane Long, he's been left out again. Does Shane still have a future with this team? Is it a matter of him playing consistently for Southampton in the starting 11?
Listen, Shane's been really an outstanding centre forward for Ireland. We really admired his contribution. He just actually hasn't started a game this year. Just the front two of Southampton have been on fire, and they've been top of the league, and the manager, even the Carabao Cup, played the first team, and they got knocked out that night. So there's been no cup games, no league games, and he hasn't started a game since well past the last lockdown in the last season. So apart from the game against Wales for us, so he's just short of minutes, and you can be short of games for a short period of time, but when it becomes months, it's hard. It's very hard just to pick it up where you left off. But of course, he has a future for Ireland. He's a terrific player. Hopefully, he gets back into the Southampton team, and gets regular game time, because he's been a great ambassador for Ireland.
Okay, to end the live section, we'll just get questions from the 42, and then the live section's over.
Hi Stephen, just two questions from me. First of all, we will be reunited with our old friends Declan Rice and Jack Greaves on Thursday. Have you ever found yourself wondering what might have been had they stuck with Ireland?
Not really. I think obviously they're both very good players. I think I'm very happy with some of the players we have. We've got a lot of talent coming through. As we spoke earlier, nearly 8 players coming into the squad, young players coming in to supplement all the good players that are there. I think we've got a lot of good players and a lot of talent, and we're not far away from being a very good side. So I think I can't worry about other players that could have been part of the equation. That's something that you can't. They're obviously good players, and we can't really dwell on that from our point of view. We've got to look forward and see what players are coming through, and what other players emerge, because some of the players, John Egan, Enda Stevens, Matt Doherty, who are now mainstays of the team, only became regulars in the last campaign, in the last within the last year and a half. So it's and obviously in their late 20s. So other players can emerge later as well, and that's what we have to be cognizant of.
And Stephen, in the spirit of looking to the future, now that you're a senior manager, have you thought about what you can do to prevent similar scenarios arising down the line in the future with players in our underage ranks that potentially tempted to switch allegiance?
Well, I think I can't make promises that you can't fulfill. I think it's what we can do is try to make the environment at all ages, at all levels, as professional as possible. Make sure that there's a clear pathway between the under-15s and the senior international team. Make sure that if players are exceptional, that they move up the ages quicker to accelerate their development. And I think that's very important. And I think, and if that is, if players can play at under 21 level at 17 and they excel, well then they can become first team players soon enough, if that is the case. And I think so really that's how I see it. Try and create an environment that the players can really identify with, an identity for the Irish team. And to be fair, all the players love playing for Ireland at all the age groups. There can be some misinformation maybe about, that nowadays that players are not as committed and so forth. When wasn't my experience. When I came in and managed the players, I felt when they were left out of squads, they were devastated. They're genuinely devastated to be left out, and were desperate to play. And likewise with there is an awful lot of pressure on senior players because their match programs are incredibly hectic. The international calendars are becoming more hectic and more games, and invariably some players to be nursing injuries through critical periods, and that also creates its own pressures for them with their clubs and so forth. So I think to be fair, they're always very, very committed to their country.
Okay guys, we're going to move into the embargoed section now. So everything from now on is embargoed to 11 PM tonight. And if possible, I am watching the chat function, so if you could use the chat function to request a question, that would be really helpful. We're going to start off with Philip Quinn.
Thank you, Aaron, and thanks, Stephen. Hopefully we get 17 minutes and that'll be great. Stephen, Shane Duffy was left out of the setup today. You've been very supportive with Bob. You said last week that he's a warrior for Ireland, and you've no doubt he'll be a success with Celtic. Is somebody you're going to stick faith with in terms of the games coming up, England at Wembley on Thursday for starters, and also are you going to keep him as your team captain, or maybe are you having a review of that?
No, I think Seamus Coleman is the captain. That's always been, that was the case before I became manager, and the case, and Shane Duffy was the vice captain, and I've kept that in place, and I think certainly I think Shane is like, when one considers, I have a list that my fitness coach compiled for me, and my analyst compiled in relation to the amount of minutes that players have played and how many games they've played. And Shane Duffy's played from starting the first game for me in Bulgaria. He's played 18 games in that period. Now the next player closest to him up to yesterday was Matt Doherty with 14. Some players have only played. Some players have not played none, or one. Some players have played 3 or 5, and some players have played maybe 9, 10, 11. He actually played 18 games between club and country in that period. So he'd 4 more than any other player. So that was in contrast to playing 1 in the previous 9 months. So we went from an absolute famine to a feast. 1 game in 9 months, which was against Liverpool for Brighton, and that was the only game he'd played, to actually, apart from the international games, in that window, in that period, but 1 club game, and to go and play in 18 games in a short proximity. So that's what he didn't play today. So he came on at the end. That's fine. Maybe he needed maybe a rest. And we'll have a look. I'll see how he comes in. Obviously, when he comes in, I'll chat to him and see how he is. But if you're asking me, have I got faith in Shane? I definitely do. I believe in him. I think, he's, I think his performances for Ireland overall, with now 3 different managers, have been overall to a very high standard, and I think we should appreciate him.
Just Stephen, the second one from me, I'll be very brief. Darren Roniff hasn't started a first team game for a long while for West Ham, and there is a possibility if Fabianski stays fit that he may not start a game. I don't know, until it could be the World Cup qualifier that he may not have started a match. Is his situation a concern? That's the first bit. And secondly, you mentioned about giving young players a pathway. Is it too soon to promote someone like Bazunu, who you know very well, who's playing first team football, albeit at League One? So there's two elements there to your goalkeeping situation.
Yeah, I think if you want me to be honest, and I considered promoting Gavin Bazunu into this squad strongly because his performances for Rochdale have been that good. But the fact that he's only played 3 under-21 games, because Caoimhin Kelleher was exceptional in the under-21s, and in training, Caoimhin Kelleher, Alan Kelly, our goalkeeping coach, can't believe how good Caoimhin Kelleher is. Haven't seen him in training, hadn't appreciated that he was actually as good as that, and seen him, and we really need Caoimhin Kelleher to get matches under his belt, because he's ready to play for us now. We feel he's good enough to play for Ireland, but he's not playing matches, so it is an issue. He was supposed to go on loan to Holland, to a couple of clubs in Holland in the last window, to the Eredivisie. Obviously, when the goalkeeper got injured, I believe at Liverpool, when the first choice got injured, that move was pulled on him. Then was possibility of going on loan. So he wanted to go on loan. He was ready to play, and certainly we would have benefited from that. We feel, but it's not easy to play at Liverpool. They're the best club team, the world champions, aren't they, at club level? So it's not easy to play there. Gavin is sort of an 18-year-old goalkeeper with leadership qualities, and a lot of qualities. And Mark Travers, of course, has already made a senior debut. So we have good goalkeepers, just need to get opportunities. Gavin has gone to League One to play with Rochdale, and he's been reports have been good. I've seen him play for Rochdale. Alan Kelly has watched all his 11 games before that last weekend, and recordings of him, and is very impressed with him also. So you're right, Darren Randolph, getting back to Darren Randolph's question, it's not ideal that if it was till next March, such a long period. He went there to West Ham to compete, to be number one. He backed himself, and he's been very consistent for Ireland. And just obviously Fabianski has the jersey at the moment, and West Ham are going quite well, so it's not easy and for Darren. And he did play 3 Carabao Cup matches, which kept him really sharp, but obviously they're out of that competition now, so it is an issue, but Darren is our number one, and that's not changing. But going forward, ideally, playing matches would be preferable for him.
Phil Mendicott, PA.
That's not for me to say, but the only thing I can say is obviously Gareth's done a great job, because obviously England got to the World Cup semi-finals, and against Croatia, and where India looked like at one stage that they would win that game. So so certainly he's done a very good job, of course, and getting to the World Cup semi-final. And I think what they've had is since he's gone in, is probably because he knows all the players in the system. A lot of players have come through the system, and it is a benefit that a lot of the players are playing regularly in the Premier League, where that's not with the case with us. We maybe don't have so many playing in regularly, the young players coming in, but we do have a lot of talent coming through in our, through all the age groups really with Ireland. We've identified our most talented players, and we feel that there is a realistic pathway for them to become senior internationals, and we want to give them every opportunity to do that, but they must obviously prove their quality. We're not going to fast track anyone who doesn't deserve it or isn't ready for it. I think, but it does help identify the characteristics of the players, how they play, their character, their technical qualities, and their ability to handle pressure situations. So it does give us an insight into that, and you have all that information stored, and I feel that it will be a benefit over time.
Owen Cowles with the final question. We've almost run out of time.
Okay.
I know you've got performances so far just without the wins. With the fact that World Cup qualifying seeding will be decided at the end of this week, do you know what you need from this block of 3 games?
Yeah, I'm very aware of all of the statistical permutations. Obviously, we've wrote out all of the mathematical situations, but we can't dictate what results happen elsewhere. So the best thing that we can do is, we know exactly how many points we get from each game, and we know where other teams are and what points they will get from their games. We know all the scenarios, of course we do, but the only thing we can't fixate on that now. All we can do now is try and perform in the matches and to the best of our ability and aspire to win the games we play in, and that's what we must try and do. We know all of the the coefficients where we are, how many matches our opponents have, how many points are equal to their games, how many points our games equal to, and of course we're aware of that for sure.
Okay, guys, we're going to have to stop it.